All right, so we got a new Shudder film here from New Zealand, not Australia. Don't mix them up. I get really mad about that.
Different
And
places.
this is about a Chinese foreign exchange student who is has a scholarship, and she's going to try and continue her father's work as a scientist, and is trying to graft human skin to the body
Yes.
seamlessly. Her dad and her were born with these like deformity, like
They like a
birthmark
skin
skin
condition.
condition,
Yeah.
something. And so he's working on it, and something happens to him. Something goes very wrong, and she's trying to fix and solve his equations and whatnot, and get the formula correct. And this becomes an obsession of hers. Now she is a very shy and meek little lady
She
who
is.
does not get along with the other kids in her class, and the other kids in her class are not so nice to her, to say the least.
Hmm.
But she, of course, takes this formula and tries to figure it out, and there are some unfortunate consequences to her
Yeah,
ambitions.
to say
Um,
the least.
so this is a body horror film, kind of first
Yes.
and foremost. Uh, okay, so what do you think?
I mean, overall, I was fairly entertained by the movie,
Yeah,
but we talked about it a little bit today. There's definitely problems that I have with the film. Mainly with, I guess,
believability.
believability, yeah, and character reactions to things. But besides that, I really like the performances from everybody. It's kind of hard to talk about without spoilers, but I think everyone does a really good job in their roles, and I liked the concept overall too. As far as the body horror aspect goes, I'll say it's like a medium, like low to medium level of body horror for me. I think that the ending has like the most body horror,
Absolutely.
but as far as like throughout the film, I didn't, it's there, but it's just not like as intense as it, I guess, could be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. um yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very entertaining film, one that you have to just accept what's going on. I think that you need to look at this movie like, a fairy tale or something like that, where you're not really questioning the logic of things, because we're dealing with there's some elements in here where characters within the film should be noticing things are off,
Yeah.
and they're not, and it's very obvious.
Yeah.
And you, as the audience member, it does take you out of the film a bit, because it's all you can think about during those moments where you're like, they wouldn't notice that. I mean, come on. And then also, with other elements of that very specific thing, there's other parts of it that they would also very much notice and wouldn't work.
Hmm.
So you can't overthink it. You really just kind of have to roll with it. It kind of reminded me of a movie like May,
Mm.
or maybe like a Masters of Horror episode or something.
We also, well, I was reminded a bit of Broken Bird from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of similar vibe for the protagonist or for the main character, I
This
guess.
character has been done many, many
Yes.
times, right? It's the one that has no confidence, and she's taken advantage of, even though she's like a prodigy, or she's really good at what she
Yeah.
does. And she finally snaps, and she's had enough, and everyone pays for it. This is nothing new, right? This story is kind of as old as time, but it's a very entertaining film. You're going to get upset a lot, right?
Hmm.
There's a lot of like bullying. There's the girl who can't stick up for herself, and she seems sweet, and you're just like, stop it. So there's a lot of that. The characters in the film, you know, are all pretty unlikable.
Mm,
So
yeah.
there isn't a moral there. I don't know. There's you don't really have to question that side of things. You
No.
don't feel bad for anyone but the main girl at times. But yeah, so like I don't know, it doesn't have any of those moments where you're feeling terrible for everybody. So that kind of cuts down on some of the tragedy of it. But
Mm,
the movie is overall tragic, but it's just the collateral damage isn't part of the tragedy.
yeah. There was one thing in this movie that I had never heard about before, or at least I don't think I had. Although now that I'm saying that, I wonder if it was in another film at some point. But there's a flower in this movie called the
Oh,
corpse flower
yeah,
that is massive and
yeah.
only blooms, some amount of time, random, not randomly, but
This
we looked it
reminds
up and it's
me.
like real, and I was like, dang, that's so cool.
There's a plot point, or correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't seen this movie in like 30 plus years. But I swear, I don't think it's this flower specifically. I feel like I have seen this flower in another movie, but the one that comes to mind is the one in the Dennis the Menace movie
Oh, I wasn't thinking of that.
where what's his name?
I don't know any of the
The
characters from that
no,
movie. I think
the guy that's like the old man next door that is always Dennis, like
yeah,
pissed
I
off at
isn't
him.
it
I thought it was like starts with a
is
W.
that what's
It's
his Quaid? Dennis Quaid? Does he play him? His
no, I
neighbor?
think it's like not Martin Landau, but
I don't know.
anyway, I
Anyway.
swear that's the premise of the movie is that like he's a like a gardener
Oh, and he has the
and he has this
flower.
like flower in his backyard. It's huge and it only blooms
Oh.
once every like 100 years or something insane. And of course, Dennis screws up. It's the big thing in the end. I literally only saw it when I was a kid. That's my memory of
Yeah, I
it.
think I maybe saw it one time.
Any
Anyway,
Dennis the
yeah.
Menace fans out there? I know
I
nothing
wonder if
about Dennis
it's
the Menace outside of that film, which I saw when I was like 12. Like it's a
yeah.
long, long time ago. It
Yeah.
was the
It's a
90s.
comic series too, right?
And
Like
then
comic strips.
I think Doc Brown from Back to the Future is like the hobo tramp that comes into
Hmm.
town because like no one locks their doors and he's like
Hmm.
gonna come in and rob everyone and Dennis is trying to warn everyone that there's this guy. No one believes him because he's like a kid who cries wolf kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
That's my memory of it. Please, anybody correct me, but that's the flower I remember.
Anyway,
Is
yeah.
it the same flower
Is it the same
or is it a
flower?
made up one?
Yeah.
But yeah, very enjoyable. I think that if you're a fan of body horror and you like that kind of quirky, odd, meek character that like an Angela Bettis plays, and you want to see her kind of be the mad scientist like a Herbert West
Mm.
and have some body horror elements, and you're okay with looking past the obvious glaring
There's
character oversights,
yeah.
then it's a very enjoyable time. I haven't talked to anybody who has seen this that did not enjoy it, but we
Yeah.
all had the same feelings of like, come on.
Yeah, cuz they're
And these are
very
all
very obvious when you watch the movie.
very obvious. And these are
So,
all things that I feel like with just a few minutes extra of thought. This is what Kaylee and I were talking about earlier, where it's not a plot hole because they are all explainable, right? Like a plot hole is an unexplainable thing, period.
yeah.
There's no explanation for it. The explanation for it is that everyone in this movie has no ability of like perception. They
They're
are
just
completely, yeah,
oblivious,
completely
which
oblivious
yeah.
is your explanation. They're just not realizing the
Yeah,
most
they're not
obvious things in front of them.
observant
That's
and
not a
yeah.
plot hole. That's just characters doing dumb things, which
Yeah.
some people are just
It
dumb. Some people
happens.
just know
Yeah,
that.
but
Now, do
it's
I believe that these characters would miss these things? Probably not. No.
no.
So,
Uh
but there's little things in here that you can do, right? Like if I can take this script, I can do a quick little rewrite. I don't even need to do a rewrite specifically. I just need to be on set and be like, you just need to insert a scene where she does this, she does this, and then you're good. Because as long as you address it in a way that's believable enough. You don't have to go full in on the thing. You just have to address it. Just give the audience a little bit of like, hey, like, we know this is a bit ridiculous, but
Yeah.
here's the explanation to some degree. You're going to have to live with that. And I'd be good with it. But the fact that it's not ever addressed ever is what feels like lazy writing.
Yeah, this is a really good example of how when you enjoy a movie, you're kind of willing to overlook certain aspects of it. But if
Sure.
you don't like this movie, or if it just, yeah, if you don't like it, like it becomes hugely problematic to the film, I think.
Characters are also underdeveloped. The back,
Mm,
like her cousin character, I feel like there's stuff going on in there
mm,
between them. There's like a jealousy on one side and there's a rejection of culture on the other side, and I feel like they didn't develop that stuff enough to make
mm,
there be a more like interesting dynamic that could have been a little more developed before the eventual, thing that happens. And the same thing with other characters. They all have things there, but they're just not there enough.
yeah,
So
I
this movie
agree.
gets there. It's a totally entertaining movie.
Yeah,
Never was bored, was always engaged. Would maybe watch it again one day, totally fine and open to watching it again. So it's a totally enjoyable film. I absolutely think it's worth your time if you're a body horror fan,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, for sure.
but just know what's coming, and I think that'll help, because I think if I heard that, I would just be like, okay, I wouldn't focus on it as much. Don't worry about like, would anyone buy this,
Right.
would no one notice these things. Like, you just have to accept that everyone is not noticing, and you're good.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good warning.
Anything more?
No,
All right,
that's
and
everything.
I think what Kaylee was getting at, she didn't want to like spoiler it up, but actors in this are given a task that required a good performance from each one of them for a specific reason,
Yeah,
and they all kill it.
yeah,
And
they
I
did a
think
great
that's
job.
the highlight of the movie,
Yeah,
is the performances of all the actors when they're required to do
yeah, it
something.
was cool. I
And I
really
was
liked
like,
it.
they were pretty damn spot on with that.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
really bought into it 100% of the time.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
So really, really good stuff there. A plus on the acting when it's necessary.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, that's that.
Anyway,
Let us know. It's on Shudder, as we said, and kind of a cool little out of nowhere film from this year.
yeah,
Knew literally nothing about it
fun to check
when,
out.
and thanks to Lee McCoy
Thank
from
you
Drum
for that
Dums.
recommendation.
I'm glad I threw that on at the end. He's the one who wrote me. Typically, it's me writing him and being like,
This
Lee,
time.
haven't you watched The Vortelock? Haven't you watched, the Red Rooms just recently? He's like, how come no one saw her? How did I miss this? And it's like, bro, come on. I've been telling you about every fucking movie. But honestly, being friends with me is a lot, because I'm like, every
Yeah,
other day is like, didn't you see these 74 films from
a
last week?
100%.
And he's
Yeah,
like, bro, I have a life, okay?
100. I actually
And he
do things.
he wrote me once. I think it was
Yeah.
like one of the first times he's ever been like, bro, you need to check out a film. And I was like, I never even heard of it. And then like Alex from Beyond the Void and other people, like the next day, were like, grafted, grafted, grafted.
Oh,
So
cool.
Lee was the first one on this to come to me. He finally got it, and he even celebrated it. Was like, I finally got one before you.
Yay!
We would
Thank
have
you
watched
for
this
the
on
recommendation.
time had we not been busy with other things. But yeah,
Yes.
we got a big video coming for you guys. A very big video. Another mystery marathon,
Yes.
but it's a very specific thing.
Yeah.
You guys will be excited. Some of
Yeah,
you.
it's not werewolves yet. We will be
No,
doing
we skipped
werewolves
that.
hopefully again after, but
Next.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. We'll see you in the comments. Bye.
Bye.